Hi, my name is Polku, and what is Carmageddon Reincarnation? First of all, it's a combat racing game from Stainless Games. The developer of original two Carmageddon games. Not the third one, but I will be making a great service for everyone and never to mention TDR again. That was a terrible game. This game was kickstarted, I think it was 2012-2013, after which it transferred to early access in Steam, where it remained until May of 2015 when it was released. It was released in a slightly buggy state and it had huge performance issues, as you can most likely see from the reviews at the time. It was still an entertaining game, but the performance was one part why I didn't buy this until this December in a Steam sale when it was discounted. And now I have played this something like 4 to 5 hours, and I think I'm ready to give my first impressions from this game now. I think I'll just jump in without further ado and we'll go on from there. As you can see, the game is in these chapters. These differ a little bit from the Carmageddon 2's one. There is no missions in these. I think you only earn points completing them to unlock the next chapter. So if you were expecting something like the mission system in Carmageddon 2, you will be disappointed. But this is okay system. I'll explain a little bit later why I prefer the Carmageddon 2 system, but let's just go in. Let's take this classic Carmageddon race. Oh, okay, there is again this upgrade screen. I'll show this actually to you. Let's go to the part shop. There is fairly simple car customization. These are just stat increases. This doesn't affect how your car looks, or okay, they affect a little bit the power affects a little bit how the car drives, but not too much. But these are unfortunately just stat upgrades. They don't show on the car. It would be actually very awesome if this had some visual impact on the car, but it's how it is. You buy this, you first of all unlock these little by little. You have to, for example, you have to play a little bit more carrier to unlock these options, and then you buy it with these, I think these were upgrade tokens, and you find this in the all around map, and unfortunately they are only one-time use. You can only upgrade one area of these for one car, and they are not transferable, which I'm not so happy about that. The original Carmageddon was fun because when you unlock these upgrade points, you could upgrade every car with you got, and now you have to kind of commit to one car. And right now I like this car. Right now I have unlocked a couple of others, but I haven't upgraded them actually. But then there is a little bit of visual customization. There's some skins. I would prefer to see a little bit more variance with this. Let's go actually with the black snake this time. Then there is one, I think every car has one locked skin that you can unlock by completing some challenge, and this is something like Can Die Crash Saga. I have no idea what that actually is, but and then there is also usually one rim variant for each car. It's quite limited, and I'd love to see more of these rim variants, but it is what it is at the moment. But let's actually go into the race. There is nothing to steal from here. There would be a icon on top of the car if you could steal it to your collection. And the stealing cars by wrecking them is the main mechanic how you acquire cars in this variant. Let's just put this to loading. These loading times can be quite long sometimes. I think I clocked them and I got usually loading time something around 30 seconds to a little bit over 1 minute from traditional hard drive. I don't run my games from SSD, I run them from this old mechanical hard drive, so I am getting a little bit worse loading times compared to that if you would have SSD. I don't think these loading times are still acceptable because I feel like these levels are slightly smaller than in Carmageddon 2 and the textures aren't so high quality that I feel that these levels should take this long to load. But now we are going in. And if you are unfamiliar how Carmageddon games work, they work by these are combat racing games, so the main part of the game is spent wrecking your enemies, trying to get them to awkward position. Oh, I still got my pedestrian blood set to blue for it. I tested these a little bit earlier how they look, but I forgot to turn them back to red. There is used in these classic mode races, there is 3 ways to complete the race. You can follow the line and gather checkpoints, which is the most boring way of completing the race usually. You most likely have to kill some pedestrians, or also because you cannot get any time by just doing checkpoints. Then there is second way of completing these races is just breaking all your opponents, and that can be quite a challenge sometimes because the AI seems to be this time around pretty not great but pretty good. Yes, I'm actually doing better than I have ever done with this objective. Then there is I forgot what I'm saying, but then there is the third option to complete the race is just killing all the pedestrians on the map. That is pretty hard goal to complete. And at least I think I've tried it once, and my opponents managed to wreck themselves before I managed to find all the pedestrians on the map. So it's pretty hard goal to actually complete. There's a little bit variance this time with game modes. There is this classic mode that I just explained. Then there is checkpoint stampede and oh no, he could break me. And then there is the pedestrian hunt. Those are the main 3 game modes this time around. I think there might be more, but I've yet to see. I've only seen one other game mode so far, and this is the 6th chapter. And the 4th game mode I have shown is you have to be first to break certain number of opponents, and it can be pretty hard. At least at the map that I tried it in, I think I lost a couple of times. No police! Don't break now. This is this day took the turn for the first. Okay. He's gotten himself pretty. Oh! And I won. So they can wreck themselves by accident, and I win regardless. That was the classic Carmageddon variant. This is pretty fun to see how mangled the opponents are after the race. I feel like this is second best damage model that I've seen so far in games. Do I actually manage to open next chapter? Let's see. No, I'm pretty far off. Yes, I know. Let's actually take this fragging challenge. This is pretty challenging. No, I don't want to upgrade because I'm not sure. This time it was pretty fast. So this is very hard game, but there is lots of fun to be had in this game. I feel like I've pretty much enjoyed the most of it. I still feel like I enjoy... Oh, in this game mode opponents can use power-ups. I already forgot that. And I still prefer Carmageddon 2 just for the sake of I feel like it had better spacing because of those missions. Although those missions could be very annoying at sometimes, I felt like they varied up what you were doing in the game very much. This is very hard level. The middle bit comes down and it can crash you quite badly. And those, I don't feel like there is enough variance in the game mode. For example, when I said mostly you've done so far those checkpoint stampede and pedestrian hunt races, and no. And those two are pretty much the same. Okay, pedestrians are a little bit smaller and they tend to move around a little bit, but I feel they feel very similarly. You go to the point, and then the next point appears and you drive there, and it feels very same. But now that they introduced this game mode, it improved the variance of game modes a little bit, but it's 6 chapters in, and so far you have only done those 3 types of missions, just classic Carmageddon, checkpoint stampede and pedestrian hunts. So I feel like there's big chance you get bored with those, especially as those pedestrian hunt and checkpoint stampede isn't as entertaining as the classic Carmageddon races that offer the freedom of way to complete the race. But of course there's the big bugbear. You most likely know something about how this game works and what the mechanics are, but the big bugbear with this game was the performance. It got quite a bad reputation of being impossible to run even with high-end computers at the launch, but has it improved with these patches during the autumn? And like I said at the beginning, yes, this is very playable now. I'm at this level where every opponent is pretty much visible at all times. I'm getting pretty stable 70 to 80 frames per second, which is actually pretty good. I'm not running this at full 1080p because my monitor doesn't go that high. I'm only running this at 1050p, but everything else is cranked up to the max. and I'm getting this frame rate, so it's pretty good. Also, I have pretty high-end graphics card. I have R9 290X, which can be considered quite high-end graphics card. But I was able to get pretty stable 40 frames per second out of my GTX 660 in my other computer with balanced settings and full 1080p, so I feel like you will be able to get this running at tolerable frame rates with pretty very different rigs. So there has been lots of improvements. I think I've suffered few drops to under 50 frames per second, but those are very far and wide between. I think I've suffered maybe 2 or 3 of those during my research play. How did I commit suicide? Someone killed me. This is really hard game mode. A couple of things I would like to say also is I feel like these power-ups has changed quite a bit since Carmageddon 2. I feel like they require more skill now to use than back then, or more of them require kills. There used to be that Slaughter Mortal and Mine-Sitting ability were those that required some kill before, but now there is a couple of other that requires quite a good positioning of your car, and I feel like this could give quite interesting gameplay in multiplayer, which I haven't tried, but I most likely will try it at some point, and maybe even do another video about the multiplayer if I manage to get around it. I'm at minus 11,000 points. This is not going very well, this race. But one part, I feel like I've read much complaint about the controls and the tribal model of this game, but I felt the same way while I tried this with controller. These cars felt very awful to drive with Xbox 360 controller, but now that I'm playing this with keyboard, I feel like these cars this feels responsive and just overall great. The car feels like it's doing what I'm wanting it to do. And this might be down to the fact that I've played the original 2 Carmageddons with keyboard, and I played thousands of hours of those games back in the day. They were new, so I'm pretty familiar of driving this style of arcade racer with keyboard. Oh, ping pong! No shit, this doesn't seem good. This is pretty dangerous. I don't want to get grasped by that central base. No. This is hard. But there is lots to enjoy in this new version of this game. I'm still not sure, does these visuals justify such a high performance, such a high requirements for hardware? I'm so way behind in this race already. The visuals look good, okay, not great, they look okay, but to require a high-end graphics card to run this game at high details is, I feel like it's a little bit too much for considering visuals. Although I must say the damage model of this game is just, I think it's second best I've seen so far in games. Of course, the best one is in BeamNC Drive, but that isn't so much a game, it's physics sandbox still. Although they have added some game-like elements to that lately also, but no, I'm going to get crushed again. That's good. That's good. But the damage model is awesome. It feels that it pretty much always does what it's supposed to do. There are some inconsistencies, I feel. Sometimes you can drive to your opponent's side pretty hard and nothing happens, and other times you manage to break them quite easily. So there is slight inconsistencies there, but nothing as bad as there were in, for example, Carmageddon 2, where you could get widely different results from similar hits. I'm so far behind. But overall, the damage model is great. Like you can see now, someone hit to my left side of my car, and now the side is pretty much caved in. And one great thing I feel like they've done is that the spiky bits of the car are actually where they are visible in the car. So if you hit an opponent with your spike bits, it actually does more damage than hitting them with some other part of your car. For example, if I had my fangs at the front, let's repair, so I get them back, and if I hit my opponent with them, I think I lost them. They are really fragile in this car, but if I manage to hit my opponent with my fangs at the front, I do more damage than hitting them without them, so I feel like they work pretty well this time. Oh, I do have instant handbrake, that's fun. One thing I must say, that there are many recycled sound assets, I feel like, from the earlier games. This gives this game this fun retro-ish feel, but I feel like the engine sounds at least are pretty lacking. Soundtrack is awesome, let's say. It's this mixture of this metal tracks mixed with electro drum and bass, neurofunk tracks and dubstep tracks. It's just on my alley. It's the best soundtrack I've heard in driving game for a long time. I feel. And what else do I have to? I lost. You lose your feels really easily, I feel like, and it's funny how the damage model is pretty realistic, but then the driving model has these strong arcade vibes to it, but how did I break her? Now I have no idea. Like I said, there is some inconsistencies with damage model. Like that, I just pretty much drove the wall by accident. I got wrecked. But I feel like I've seen worse in earlier Carmageddon games. So, as this race continues, let's go to conclusions. Would I recommend this game now? Yes, I'm pretty sure I would recommend this game now. Especially if you manage to get some sale like I did from it. And I think I paid half price from this game at winter sale, and I feel I got my money's worth. I'm not sure is this still worth it for full price, but if you're a fan of the older Carmageddon games, I'm pretty sure you'll find plenty of enjoyment to find in this game. I'm enjoying myself pretty much playing this game, and it's pretty much down to this keyboard controls being so tight, the damage model being pretty much spot on, the soundtrack is awesome, and now that the performance is pretty close to where it should be, this is starting to be a very enjoyable game. I still prefer Carmageddon 2 a little bit more because of those missions. I felt like the game felt like having spacing. This time around, I don't feel like there is such a good pace. I don't feel like there is spacing. These are the separation to chapters feels quite artificial. It was artificial with those missions also, but this feels more artificial. It doesn't ruin the experience too much, but I would have preferred to see those creative missions where you to give those variants of what you are doing. Now you are pretty much doing just what you were doing all the time. Even with this new mission that opened up in this 6th chapter, it's still pretty much the same that I was doing in the classic mode. I was chasing enemies and trying to wreck them. So it doesn't change the game too much. But this is very enjoyable game, and I feel like there is lots of fun to be had in this. Like I said, I'll try to see if there is any multiplayer games available, and yes, I want it. Yeah. That was a game and a half. But I try to see if I managed to find anything about multiplayer and maybe do a separate video about that. But I like to conclude this video that I enjoy this game. This is worth its successor to Carmageddon 2 and 1. More to 2, because I feel like the 2 was the best game in the series, but this is worth the successor. It runs okay now, it looks good, soundtrack is awesome, sound design is a little bit lacking, and there's slight funkiness in the physics sometimes, but that's to be expected with damage model such complex as this game has. And my name has been Polku, and thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more.